Thanks for listening to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast, keeping you up to date with the latest in American soccer. And don't forget to subscribe.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Uncle Sam's Soccer Podcast. I'm Steven Jodarand.
And I'm Jake Wittroba.
On today's episode, we discuss cabin fever, major soccer tournaments being postponed, and the joke that is the U.S. Soccer Federation.
Listeners, follow us on Twitter at Uncle Sam's Soccer Pod. We always enjoy your feedback and comments, so continue to send them in. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. Now, let's get to today's show.
Day 3. Jake, day 3 of working from home. Cabin fever couldn't be higher. This flat out sucks. And listeners, we've been talking about this for the last couple days. This is a community. This is a way for everyone to gather and talk about sports, take our minds off either work, being with a bunch of people in one house, or being locked in this house without having the ability to go anywhere. So join us at Uncle Sam Soccer Pod or email us, unclesamsoccerpodcast@gmail.com. We got plenty to get to. If you haven't done so, check out our episode with Eric Gomez. He contributes to ESPN, ESPN Deportes, MLS, Liga MX, and CONCACAF Champions League. It was a fantastic conversation. So check that out. But Jake, day 3, and I have no idea how we're going to do this for any longer. You know, Italy is on week 4 of this. Could you imagine doing this for 4 effing weeks? I'm going insane.
Yeah, I don't mind doing this. This is easy. This is easy for me.
You're such a loner.
No.
How is this easy? How is this easy being locked inside when the sun is shining, although I look out my window as we are recording this and it's gray and rainy, but that's a conversation for another day. This sucks. I don't know. Italy's doing this for weeks. I don't know if that's going to be the case here, but if it is, God help us, because this is terrible.
I will say it'll get more difficult in like a few weeks when it's actually the weather is nice outside. You know,
weeks. You think we're gonna be in our houses for the next 6 weeks, don't you?
Oh yeah, I think this is the beginning of a very long, I guess, quarantine or social distancing practice, if you will. I don't think this is just going to be this week and next week and then everything's back to normal.
Well. I think people are going to start returning to work, though. I think you'll see that sooner than work, in the sense that if you're a small business and you have 10 to 50, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I don't work in the medical world. At this point, I don't know why I am even talking. Let's talk about sports, Jake. And rather interestingly, the NFL continues on, and we talked about this yesterday. We talked about how free agency, you are perfectly okay with it. I'm perfectly okay with it. It's fascinating. It's fun to talk about sports and not worry about the coronavirus for whatever period of time. Maybe you're listening to a podcast, watching ESPN. I know that a ton of soccer outlets are getting desperate for content. I was on Instagram, I was flipping through. I think I sent this to you. ESPN FC had something about how awesome the kits were from this past season. I'm like, this is day 2 of this. Well, really more like day 5, but whatever. This is whatever day it is. They're talking about jerseys. Are they going to start talking about shin guards next?
Socks, shorts. Yeah, it's next going to be who had the best hair.
Mustaches. Paxton Pomacall. Put him up there.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to be scraping the bottom of the barrel here pretty quickly, because I don't know what else there is to talk about. I know MLS this morning on Twitter had like a 15-question quiz they put out for people, like, who scored the most goals in a season, or who won the first ever MLS Cup, who was the quickest to 100 career goals in MLS, stuff like that. So And just like it just looks like the outlets don't have much to.
You want to embarrass each other or embarrass the credibility of the show?
Nope.
We should take this quiz.
Nope.
And see. No. We're going to do this on a future episode in the coming days. We're going to take this quiz and see how terribly we do. See. Let's just see what our MLS knowledge is just from doing the show and just watching MLS for the last, at least in my case, for the last decade plus. In your case, the last 3 years?
Yeah, 3-4 years. Yeah.
But is there anything a sports league can do at the moment? Because right now the NFL is clearly looking at this opportunity saying, yes, we are lucky. But can the NBA do anything? Can the NHL? Can any soccer league, any soccer club, apart from social media content and reposting their players' TikToks of dancing in the bathroom or juggling toilet paper?
No, I mean, the NFL is in the midst of its silly season right now, so that's going to calm down in a week here, maybe even by the end of the weekend once everybody has. I mean, Tom Brady is signed, so now we have nobody to really
unofficially. But there's a reason.
Hold on to that, just keep holding on to that. Maybe
no. I don't joke. No. But as jokingly as that sounds, or as maybe you thought it would be, it's actually because players are not officially signed until they pass a physical. The problem is the league has told everybody you can't travel. You got to stay home in some sense, do everything via Skype. So some players, unless they go to their local hospital and they can find a doctor to give them the physical and that could be passed over to the club, you're not going to have the official, the Buccaneers have officially signed Tom Brady to X amount of dollars for X amount of years. This is going to be a little bit of a slower process. Now, you're going to have a lot of verbal agreements, and the question is, Josh McDaniels had a verbal agreement with the Indianapolis Colts. Will we see a player or two back out? I'm not saying that it's going to be Tom Brady, but that's fascinating. But I want to focus on soccer here, Jake. And it seems like none of the soccer leagues can do anything about this, whether that's MLS, USL, the Premier League, or the second division in Sweden.
I mean, what is there to talk about, though? They were all in the middle of their seasons. You can't.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
This wasn't an off season. That's why the NFL is in the headlines, because they're free agency lined up. There's nothing these leagues can do except for just sit tight, be quiet, and hope that this whole thing runs its course here sooner rather than later.
And that has pushed the European Championships this summer, which was supposed to be hosted across 12 cities across Europe, to be postponed 1 year. The tournament, which was supposed to take place from June 12th to July 12th, will now run next year, 2021, from June 11th to July 11th. CONMEBOL is also postponing Copa America, which was due to take place from June 12th to July 12th. So talk about a summer which we would have been loving international soccer. You watch the European Championships during the day, and the evening you come home, you get to watch Argentina and Brazil and whatnot in the Copa America. Jake, the newly expanded Club World Cup, which was supposed to take place in China in June 2021, will no doubtably be postponed. A new date will be announced when we obviously get more clarity on the situation in China. So this is crazy, and to top it all off, the European leagues are committed to completing the season by June 30th.
No way that happens. There's no way that happens.
No way.
I just don't think that these leagues are going to be starting soon enough to where we can get the season finished by the end of June. I think you're looking at these seasons starting mid-May, end of May. And I mean,
so you think the entire April is just going to be written off?
Yeah, I think anybody who thinks that they're going to come back in 2 weeks is out of their mind. There's no way.
2 weeks, but you could hypothetically, I think a lot of them are eyeing a mid-April return. Late April return.
I think that's super early. I think there's no way they're back mid-April. There's no way. This virus hasn't even hit hard in England yet, and we know that they've had some pretty loose guidelines on how people should be interacting with one another. I mean, there's no way the Premier League is going to be finished by June 30th.
Yeah.
No way.
So this is all fascinating stuff because this actually affects your U.S. men's national team one way or the other. The postponement of the European Championships, the postponement of Copa America, the postponement of the Club World Cup, this is all clearly hinting at the Olympics being postponed a whole year. And guess what the U.S. is trying to do, Jake? Or was going to try to do in the days that we're talking right now?
I don't know. What were they trying to do?
Qualify for the Olympics. There's no way that the Olympics should take place at this point. You're going to rush it. You're going to congregate millions of people from literally all corners of the world into one tiny packed area. You can't. There's no way Tokyo is going to host the Olympics, which means U.S. Olympic qualifying will be postponed. And what are the regulations going to be on this? Okay, so let me go through a couple of key stats. Now, Jake, chime in on any stat that I might miss here. And for some context, listeners, Olympic qualifying was due to start March 20th against Costa Rica. Then the U.S. would have played against the Dominican Republic March 23rd, and then have a big the wrap-up of the group stage versus Mexico on Thursday, March 26th. So literally in the span of the next 10 days, hypothetically, or if we were living in a without coronavirus going on, we'd be talking about this Olympic qualifying, which is utter fascinating. And now Christ, Jake, had an interesting line.
Yeah, he was quoted as saying, with a lot of games in a short amount of time, we will need the contributions of all 20 players on this roster to achieve our ultimate goal of qualifying for the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo. This is our 6th time together with this U23 group, so I think we have a real firm understanding of how we want to play and who we want to be.
Is 6 times playing together all that much? Like, I'm having a hard time understanding. Like, yeah, we've played together 6 times, and that's enough to...
I mean, maybe if they played for 8 hours straight each one of those 6 times, yeah, I guess that would be a lot. But if it's a couple of hours, 6 different times, I don't think that's much.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and this really screws up quite a bit of what Christ was doing, because players born on or after January 1st, 1997 are eligible for the tournament, and Christ selected 9 players in 1997. So my big question is, will they be able to qualify for the Olympics that happen in 2021? Will the committee say they were due to take place this year, so we're going to respect the age eligibility of the Olympics being played in 2020, even though they'll be played in 2021? This affects multiple players. 9 players at least are going to be somewhere affected. They could still all play, and we wouldn't be talking about this. And this also opens up the player pool.
Right, because there's another age group that could theoretically be eligible to play in this.
Well, who knows what players come through Europe the next 8 months.
Right. I mean, I don't know how you can't say this is a U23 tournament and then say, well, the team, we can let 24-year-olds play in this because, I think there's an argument to be made. Look, this is a talent-based competition. I mean, whoever has the most talent is probably going to win it. But you have a team that's made up of mostly 24-year-olds. I mean, look at the U.S. roster. I'm not trying to say that they're going to this is going to be the reason why they could win the Olympics if they were to allow 24-year-olds to play. But 9 players on the roster are 24 years old. I mean, that's got to be an advantage by some stretch against a team that might be younger.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think there is something to be said here with the Olympic qualifying and how important it is for the federation. Right? After missing the World Cup, they need some positivity going in their direction, especially in the men's side of the game. What positivity has there been? Greg Berhalter it's been a roller coaster with this guy. Fans, media, question marks, left and right. Players coming out or media members, more so myself, questioning the heart, the passion of the team. You hear it from Jermaine Jones. You hear it from the media starting to go like, what is going on with this federation? What are we doing? And then there's the lawsuit, which we'll get to here in a moment, and Carlos Cordiero resigning. I mean, this federation is a joke. They need some positivity. Now you're going to postpone the Olympics a whole year. What's this going to do to Jason Christ? What is this going to do to the player pool? This would have been a big opportunity to see what players have, quote-unquote, a sack in the big moments when the lights shine bright. Because you bet, Jake, right? Would you, let's do this again. Listeners, question of the day. If the U.S. had qualified for the Olympics, would you have watched? Not talking about the women because they're clearly going to qualify. But if the men had qualified, would this have been a much-watched type of tournament regarding the future of your U.S. men's national team?
Yeah, I think you had to have watched, right? I mean, this is probably one of the pinnacles of this sport, right? Is playing for a gold medal in the Olympics.
No, it's not a pinnacle of the sport.
Oh, come on! You didn't see how much it meant to Neymar.
Okay, yeah. After what happened in
2016, whatever year it was.
Yeah, what happened after in 2014 with his back at the World Cup. Never mind having the Olympics in Brazil. It's a whole different story. But no, the players do not sit there and go, "Oh, I wish I had a gold medal." No, they wish they had the World Cup. The Champions League.
I'm not saying this is above the World Cup or Champions League, but I'm saying it's right up there with there.
No, it's not.
Up there with them.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. I've never sat there and go like, "Wow, Messi." You know, Messi has a gold medal,
but he doesn't have a Copa America.
You're right.
I don't know.
I mean, the gold medal doesn't mean anything. That's my point. But no, seriously though, this would have been a much watch. I think people would have been actually tuned in. The soccer, man, Jake, when's the last time we have watched the U.S. men's national team and felt some sort of, there was something on the line? Like, did the Gold Cup final against Mexico really mean something? No.
2014 against Belgium. That was the last time I felt like something was on the line.
Right.
Well,
and it would have been a whole 6 years later.
Trinidad and Tobago, I guess, might have been the last time you felt it.
Okay,
but maybe. Then again, they had a 90% chance of advancing out of the region, but they didn't. But I mean, to me, something I felt like when it felt like there was something truly on the line. I mean, it was Belgium. It was the knockout round in 2014.
It's wild. Now that we're going to postpone this, I don't even want to get into the roster because at this point we don't even know what the roster is going to be and what the regulation is. The whole point of me bringing that up is pay attention to the ages, because if the Olympics end up being postponed, which is very likely and should be what they do, this affects how the Olympic qualification happens and the players ultimately who go to the Olympic qualifying and go into the Olympics if we get there. Now, listeners, we will do a full episode regarding the U.S. women's national team and what's going on with them. We plan on bringing in one or two guests to really give us the insights into the story that has been evolving for months.
Yeah, and we want to bring the best coverage, obviously, on this to you. We don't want to treat this like it's like it's the Olympics being postponed. Obviously, this is a very serious matter, so we want to make sure we have somebody who knows a lot more about it than we do on the show to talk about it, to give you, the listener, a greater content or more context, if you will, into the matter, into the court hearings, or what was said in court, rather. So we are going to work on that, but we still want to talk about the resignation of now former U.S. Soccer Federation President Carlos Cordiero, which he resigned last Thursday, right when you know what was hitting the fan as it relates to coronavirus. You had the NBA canceling, you had the NHL, MLB, NCAA, MLS. They had all announced that they were either postponing the season or canceling their seasons as well. And, I don't know about you, Steven, but to me, it almost felt like this the COVID-19 outbreak was a shield for Cordiero in some sorts. I mean,
look, I don't want to speculate, Jake, but it just it's kind of like, well, let's just
kind of like the Friday night news dump.
Yes. It's a Friday night, like the NFL wanting to suspend a player. Okay, we'll just dump it at 5:00 and let the weekend cycle cover it. Nobody really cares. Come Monday, games that had happened. Blah 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 blah. Right? Typical fashion, and obviously these are unprecedented times. Whether or not he had intended to resign then and there a few weeks ago without really knowing what's going on with the coronavirus, fine. I don't want to speculate, but it seems rather convenient, right? Here you have the entire sporting world come to a complete halt. Not the NBA having some random suspension for a week due to X. Not some terrorist attack happening in the country Y. No, the entire world, the entire sporting landscape in this world comes to a halt. And then the president of the U.S. Soccer Federation just resigns and then puts a letter on Twitter, and that's kind of like, oh, he resigns, and people commenting on it, but the news cycle is spinning so fast that it kind of washes up the next 3 days, and then that's kind of it. He's resigned.
Oh, I remember seeing it, and I'm thinking, oh, Carlos Cordiero resigned, and remember it being on my mind for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then just being like, all right, whatever. There's, I mean, the NBA just postponed their season. But just going back into stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't want to belittle the situation regarding the U.S. women's national team. Like that is a serious, ongoing legal battle, whatever you want to call it. That's been going on for months. But at the same time that Cordiero resigns because of the situation going on with the U.S. women's national team, and credit to them when they protested by turning their warm-up kit inside out, hiding the U.S. badge. Like, credit to them. You know, that I thought that was very clever. But when this came out, as you were saying, you sat there and go, okay, it's important, but you also have this crisis going on around the world with the coronavirus, and you have no idea what's going on. So are you really going to be paying attention to what Cordiero is saying? Or what he wrote, or why he's resigning?
No, I don't think you would be. Like I said, I think attention was turned to other places when he tweeted out that he was resigning last Thursday night. So in his letter, Carlos Cordiero was stated, we'll just read a little excerpt here for you guys. My one and only mission has always been to do what is best for our federation, and it has become clear to me that what is best right now is a new direction. The arguments and language contained in this week's legal filing cause great offense and pain, especially to our extraordinary women's national team players who deserve better. It was unacceptable and inexcusable. Cordiero would later write, in accordance with our bylaws, Cindy Parlow-Cone, who has performed so ably as vice president, will serve as president.
Convenient, man. It is all too convenient that he decides to resign a day or a night after the NBA suspends its current season, and then you have obviously the news of the MLB, NHL, MLS following suit. Obviously, what's going on in Europe, coronavirus, politics. I mean, it seemed to quickly spin out of the news cycle or wash out of the news cycle. And it hasn't even been a week since this.
No, I mean, when we're recording this Wednesday night, so when listeners hear it, it'll be a week. But yeah, I mean, this feels like it's just completely washed out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and
I feel like if there wasn't coronavirus, this would have been our show for the last week. Was
absolutely
Carlos Cordiero,
and it really shows. It really illustrates how big of a joke the Federation is when it comes to managing contracts, managing its players' development, the women's national team, the men's national team. It's dysfunctional. It is not good. It is not a good organization.
No, it's dumpster fire.
It is a dumpster fire, and if you were to apply for this company, I think you'd be insane to want a job with how dysfunctional they have been the last several years.
Oh, they can't do anything right. And one thing, too, in his letter, I like how Cordiero tries to walk back the legal proceedings or legal filings. Really quickly here, he did write, I did not have the opportunity to fully review the filing in its entirety before it was submitted, and I take responsibility for not doing so.
What?
Had I done so, I would have objected to the language that did not reflect my personal admiration for our women's players or our values as an organization.
What are you doing as president then? Like, what is your job title? If you're not going to review the lawsuit, the most important thing going on right now with the Federation, you're not going to take the time to review this, shame on you, man. Like, unbelievable. Hey, more coverage coming on this. We'll talk, like I said, we will get more in depth regarding the U.S. women's national team. We want to give this the proper light that it deserves by bringing on people who've been covering this since day one. So be on the lookout for that in the coming days. We got awesome guests lined up as well. We're gonna talk to somebody who lives in Europe. We want to get his perspective. We're gonna do some more storytelling, Jake. How coronavirus is affecting the lives over there. At Unc Sam Soccer Pod, send in your comments and your thoughts at Jake Watroba, at Steven Jodaren. A big shout out to all your listeners. Hey, it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We'll do it together. And until next time.